Here's the way my entire offseason is going to work. And I've learned this basically through what I was talking about with that 48-hour rule, where there's this feeling that Nikolai Ehlers, do you want him? And then for 48 hours, everybody talks about Nikolai Ehlers. Maybe every single 48 hours, there's like a 12-hour span where people talk about Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner, do you want him? And it goes on and on and on down the list, all the way towards every team that might be selling, every free agent that might be available. Do you want him? Do you want him? Do you want him? Which is awesome because the Canes have the cap space and the trade capital to pretty much make them all options. Do you want him? Do you want him? Do you want him? Here's my official take. Don't be distracted by all of the fancy wings and wingers, and don't be distracted by guys like Zegras when they become available. Don't be distracted by all of the guys that play out there on the sides and miss on getting a center. This offseason is the summer of centers for the Carolina Hurricanes, and I understand that you're probably going to have to do some work to get there. But you don't have all the time in the world. We are, 4 days to the NHL draft, 8 days to free agency opening up. Things are starting to get here pretty darn quickly. And I will admit, the free agency center group, not great, unless you're willing to take a kind of placeholder to fill for 2 or 3 years, somebody like John Tavares. Sam Bennett, not really available. It sounds like he's going to end up in Florida. There's Pius Suter. There was Trent Frederick. He's off the board. There was Matt Duchene. He's off the board. There's not a super robust center market, so it might have to be in the trade market, which means you have to look around and figure out who and where and how you're gonna fill it. But the issue is, while that's going on, and you have to figure out who's available, and you have to make the offers and receive the counters and receive the angry texts of course not. That is insulting to the value of our player. You have to go through all of that. Meanwhile, there's, like I said, there's Mitch Marner and Nikolai Ehlers and Brock Besser and all of this woo, fancy, flashy, shiny wingers that all you got to do is negotiate with them and their agent, but don't lose sight of the main thing. It's I'm calling it like the are you a Seinfeld fan at all?
A little bit.
Okay.
I'm trying to dive into it.
Interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to start
adopter.
from. I know, right? I hear good things. So
well, there's an episode where it's the summer of George. And he's like optimistically trying to manifest like the summer of George. It's the summer of get a center.
Yes, please.
I'm trying to manifest it. The summer of get a center, because and this is what I said about the 48 hours thing. Every time wings are brought up, my response is kind of the same, because the Canes have a little less now, but $27 million roughly in cap space, and they have 6 first-round picks in the next 4 drafts, and they have to explain it in a kind of easily to digest way. There was an all-prospect team in the AHL, and both Scott Morrow as well as Bradley Nadeau made the all-prospect team. It was the first time in history that one system had 2 players in the same year receive that particular recognition. So they have the prospects, they have the money, they have the draft capital, they have most of their long-term core already locked up to very team-friendly deals. So they have everything at their disposal. So every single time someone's like, do you want Marner? My response is the same thing. I'd love him as long as they also get a center. Because you can pay him $14 million a year and still have plenty of money and trade capital and whatever else you want to spend to go get your center. Do you want Nikolai Ehlers? Oh, sure. I think he'd fit in nicely as long as you get a center. So if all of your reactions, or all of my reactions, I should say, come with that caveat of as long as you get a center, then I think you should focus on getting a center, or at least make sure you know, like you do the casino thing, where I don't know if anyone else does this. When you go to a casino, if you hit like a decent win early, you take the original amount of money that you brought and you put it in your pocket. Like that amount of chips is in your pocket, and you don't touch it.
Right.
And now everything on the table is fun money, right? That's just woo, let's go.
Don't feel bad about it.
They need to take whatever they intend to spend on a center and put it in their pocket. Then you can go nuts, right? Then you can hit free agency and go crazy and get big names and get scores and go crazy, knowing that, okay, we still have this money for our center in our pocket. Consider that like ride home money. Like I need at least enough for the Uber back to the hotel. That's the center money. Put that in your pocket. Because how many years during lows in the regular season, darn sure in the postseason, have we lamented the Canes not having a great second line center? I mean, in the postseason, you're rotating through Kotkaniemi, Roslovic, and Jankowski with like Svech and Jarvis on either side, or Hall and Svech on either side, and that's not good enough, right? So you finally have an offseason where you can get anything you want. You're the kid going into the arcade, like where you spend your tickets, and you just have, I don't even know if they do this anymore. Now it's all on little like credit cards. It used to be you could tell the kid that had it all, right? He'd walk in with just armfuls of arcade tickets.
Oh, yeah.
And his parents could look at him and go, get anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you were there for like, an hour in the afternoon, and your parents were like, get any eraser or bouncy ball that you'd like.
Right.
But this kid would walk in and he'd have it all and be like, goodness gracious, and he'd get like the remote control car and you'd be so jealous. The Canes are right now the kid with all of the arcades, all of the arcade tickets. And you're going to walk in, and there's going to be the bouncy balls, and there's going to be everything designed to distract you. You got to get the center. Then you can spend everything else on whatever else you want. You got to get the center. And later on in the show, I'm going to do a thought exercise. We did this on my show and had a good time with it, where we remove all, like modesty might be the word, or humble might be the word. We remove all speed governors, the things that slow you down because, that's not realistic. And we let you just say the best case scenario. What is the absolute best case scenario for the Carolina Hurricanes this offseason, building towards next year, which I believe has to be a cup or bust season? When you make it all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and you still have so much to spend and so many more resources to add, it has to be a cup or bust season. What is the best case scenario? We're going to ask that question. And it is absurd how many times it ends with like Robertson and Marner. And I'm going, that first line is going to be crazy, but you're probably going to have Jarvis centering the second line. And if you haven't had Jarvis centering a line yet with everybody you've had out there at center, they don't want him centering a line. Or you're going to have Kotkaniemi back up there, and there's nothing more universally told to me by Canes fans than they don't want Kotkaniemi back up there with the second line. That is as universal as, baseball players hate rain. It is super known. So solve this offseason. Solve center. Matter of fact, and I've said this before, and this might be, I already said earlier today that my take on the baseball was the most controversial. This might be the next most controversial thing I'll say. I'd be okay if Sebastian Aho's a second center.
Oh, yeah.
I would, for me, I'd call him 1A and 1B just to make, because Aho's my guy. It's not really 1A and it's not 1 and 2. It's 1A and we have 2 first-line centers.
Yes.
But think that way, right? Go get somebody that makes Sebastian Aho your second-line center.
That would be ideal.
Because guess what happens or somebody as good as Sebastian Aho, your second-line center. And the reason why I say that is then Stahl is a 3. He's not a third center that is playing second-line minutes because you trust him more than your second-line center. You need your second-line center to be way better than Jordan Stahl, so there's not the temptation to play him all those minutes. And that's no disrespect to Jordan Stahl. His line absolutely has a role, but it shouldn't be scoring as much as a second line should. You'll see it'll all make sense when we get to the portion of the show, I believe it's in the second hour, where I literally go full. It's all plausible. It all makes sense under the cap. I don't think anything is. I'm not sitting here saying like trade of second round pick for McDavid. I'm not making it outlandish, but there is, if everything breaks your way, how the offseason could go. I think it's a really, really exciting place for the Canes this offseason. They can literally do anything. That's how much resource they have.